And the topic that I was given was, and you probably saw it on the flyer, was the topic of loving the Masjid and coming and having your heart attached to the Masjid. And there's a very, very important hadith around that. The preface of this theme is that on the Day of Judgment, when people meet Allah Azza wa Jal, all of humanity standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, there's a special group of people, because of the sheer terror of the day and the chaos of the day and the nature of the day having the sun a handspan over everybody's head and the heat of the day, that there is a special VIP group that gets to be under the shade of Allah Azza wa Jal on the day that there is no shade. And amongst those people is an individual who loves what do they love in their heart? The Masjid. They love the homes of Allah Azza wa Jal. They love the places, the dwellings of Allah Azza wa Jal. By the way, the beautiful kind of narration about this is that the angels, the people of the heavens, as we look up and we see stars in the magnificence of the night, the angels, the people of the heavens, when they look down to the earth, their stars are the houses of Allah Azza wa Jal, where people are remembering Him. So it's a kind of a beautiful metaphor, especially on a night like this, that Allah Azza wa Jal makes the houses of Allah where people gather, they are the stars to the angels. What I want to focus on today, though, is that not all the stars are the same size. And obviously, with everything going on in the world, it's silly for us to come here with kids dying and a genocide and an extermination of our people live on our screens again, that's restarted, and not having some kind of attachment in our heart to them. And I think it would be, again, unbefitting of us not in these blessed nights to understand the lessons that they teach us. So what I wanted to preface my talk on today, linking the Masajid to the people of Gaza, is the importance of the masjid that they are dying for, that they are trying to live for and die for. The masjid that they are willing to sacrifice their life, their children, their homes, their food, their drink, for the sake of this masjid. And I think that should not be heedless to us. And I think that masjid, we should have as much love for it as they do. It's the reason why they're dying. It's the reason why they're persevering. And so I want to preface my talk on the conversation about loving Masjid al-Aqsa and why we should love the land of Palestine, particularly the place of Al-Aqsa, and why Allah Azza wa Jalla has honored that place, and why it's worth, even though it's a calamity and the worst tragedy we've probably ever seen in our lives, but it is worth the heart of every believer that is attached to that place. I want to start this story, though, with the father of the two nations that made Al-Aqsa and Mecca special. There's three masjids. I'll preface this. There are three masjids. The Prophet ﷺ only said, beautiful hadith. He said, if you were ever to travel to go to a masjid, like if you're ever going to leave the comfort of your home and you're going to travel far to go see a masjid, like as a tourist, or like willing to go out and, potentially die on the road, or, struggle and pay and invest in going to see a masjid, you're not going to a museum in Morocco, that's a masjid, right? Or in Turkey. What are the three places the Prophet ﷺ said are the only masajid really worth a believer to travel to? What are the three? The first one is Al-Haram, of course, the Mecca itself, the Mecca. When people say the Mecca, they're referring to Mecca. May Allah preserve it and protect it. The second, Masjid al-Nabawi, the Prophet ﷺ said this masjid, which was the holy sanctuary because of the Prophet ﷺ, it's Madinat Rasulillah. It is only special because the Prophet ﷺ lived there and dwelt there and built the masjid there. And the third of them is Masjid al-Aqsa, the place, the holy place in Jerusalem. The place that Allah Azza wa Jal, as the second masjid to ever exist for the believers, the place that believers for generations faced as their qibla before a change happened. So the love of the Masjid al-Aqsa starts with the story, the amazing story of the father, our father, and the father of the nations that built those two masjids, which is Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim is where I want to start the story. And Ibrahim's story is one of the most mentioned stories in the Quran. Y'all know I always love a story. And I think it's one of the most powerful stories that we learn a lot of lessons from. The main part I want to highlight today is something that Ibrahim alayhi salam at a young age that he did today that the defenders of Masjid al-Aqsa say day in and day out when we're flipping through our phones watching them. There's been this one phrase from the moment the genocide started until today, right before we walked in watching videos. There's been this one phrase that has been the anthem of the people of Gaza. It's been the calling, the dua, the supplication of the people of Gaza, no matter what happens to them. It's a powerful, heart-moving dua, call. Does anybody know what that phrase is? Raise your hand. It's been this one consistent phrase in the back. Go ahead, Ahmed. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Has anybody heard the people of Gaza in videos saying Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil? Anybody take any moments to understand what those words are and why they're special? The first person to say those words was Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam was a young man, a high schooler. When he decided to abandon all of the practices of his people, like he was not stuck in the web of the evil practices of his people, their paganism, their abuse, their oppression. He was a young man, he was able to see through it. When he did, fast forwarding through the story, and we've probably all heard the story, many iterations of it, but Ibrahim alayhi salam didn't just preach to his people. He didn't even get under the threat of his father saying he would execute him. His own dad threatened to kill him with his own hands. Ibrahim alayhi salam decided that he was going to take action against the evil that his people were doing in a way that was going to be firm and decisive for them to understand the truth. And so what Ibrahim did at a young age is that he went to the town center, as we know, and he destroyed all of the main idols in that town, and he left the largest idol there, put the axe on it, and went home. When his people were gone, they were out on a celebration. When the people came back, they of course accused Ibrahim alayhi salam of, I'm sorry? Yeah, can y'all move up, inshallah? Can y'all move up just to make space for people in the back? Jazakallah khair. Okay. There's more sisters than y'all, so we gotta wait for them. Okay, Jazakallah khair, everybody. Get settled. Everybody get settled. All right. It's not the most exciting thing to happen. They just moved a few inches. Ibrahim alayhi salam, again, a young age. I mean, we're talking about somebody really, hasn't even hit barely an adolescent, right? With the ability to have such amazing foresight and cleverness and courage that he was willing to step and do something so bold to send a message to his people in such a unique way, in such a powerful way. When he destroyed all the idols and he left the axe on the main idol. And when the people came back, they were in shock and they were in horror. Who destroyed our idols? Who said, who destroyed the phantom of our imaginations? Oh my God, I didn't know, my idol was a horrible human. I didn't know the richest person on earth is the scum of the earth. I didn't know this famous celebrity that I follow is truly wicked and evil. When your idols come crashing down, it's a very hard thing, whether they're physical idols or human idols. When your idols come crashing down, it's a wake-up call. It's a shocking moment for people. When Ibrahim alayhi salam, when his people came back, they said, oh, let's go to, we kind of know who did this. This young man who's been preaching to us not to worship and not to follow these idols. He's been preaching that to us. He's the one that we should go and take care of. We should go and deal with him. When the angry mob goes to the house of Ibrahim alayhi salam, young man, an angry mob of lunatic psychopath killers, because only psychopaths kill children. And the mob went to Ibrahim's house with the intent to do what? To kill him. These are amongst the most evil people on earth. The psychotic nature of people that are willing to justify the killing of children. When they went to Ibrahim alayhi salam's house and they confronted him in a mob, nowadays, I know, mashallah. Definitely the people standing up today against the Zionist mob, the mob that wants to kill and destroy our children and justify it, whether in the halls of Congress or the streets of Brooklyn. Like there are mobs that just want to justify our killing. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, in the face of the mob, when they came to him and said, did you destroy our idols? He was so shrewd and so cunning and so clever. He told them, why are y'all confronting me about the idols? Why don't you go talk to the big one? It should tell you who did the crime. Like, how dumb are you people? How dumb are you people that a 14-year-old has moral clarity on what is right and wrong, and you're just the mob of psychopaths? So the mob said to Ibrahim, they said, okay, everybody, we're gonna kill this kid, grab him, kill him. And their method to kill him, their plan, was to burn a fire. Ibn Kathir mentions the story. And Ibn Kathir says, one of the great scholars, he says that the people of Ibrahim built one of the largest man-made fires ever. They didn't just build a fire pit. They burnt an entire valley and made it into like a barbecue grill to be able to throw Ibrahim into it. They burned an entire canyon and had it set ablaze. And they were all to do what to a young man, all to do what to him? To kill him, to punish him. A fire. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, young man, they couldn't just throw him into the canyon. What did they have to do? They had to build a catapult. They had to actually create and build a catapult that can launch him hundreds of yards to be able to be into the middle of the pit. That's what they had to do. They had to borrow, weapons and steel and bombs. They're saying that the bombs being dropped on the kids of Gaza today are unlike any bomb that's been dropped in the past 17 months. They got a fresh new batch of the most evil, disgusting bombs to be able to drop on little kids. What they did to Ibrahim was they had to go and ship and bring in infrastructure to build a catapult to put a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid and launch him into a valley of fire. When Ibrahim alayhi salam has his hands tied, his legs tied, he's put into the catapult. This is the peak of the story. And they decide to launch him. And he's in mid-flight. He's in mid-air on his way into a canyon of fire. Absolute death. Like, it is the most, again, wicked, cruel, psychopathic people that you can imagine. I know, subhanAllah, we think the worst people are today. But as the Prophet ﷺ told us, the people that came before us, they had it even worse sometimes than we do. And the Quran and these stories reflect that. Like, they had it even worse. Ibrahim alayhi salam, in mid-flight, the catapult is launched. He's being thrown into this canyon of fire. A miracle happens. A miracle for a young man. Like, it's something that is, first of all, his courage, his willingness not to give up. I mean, he could have just said, I'm sorry. He could have just said, I'll go rebuild the idols. He could have done anything. Any one of us can compromise at any moment. It's really easy to just like, hey, just just everybody just give up. Just like everybody just kind of, everybody give up. Just relax. Don't say anything. Just capitulate. Say it's okay. It's easy to do that. But the stories of legends, the stories of Hall of Famers, you don't get talked about for hundreds of thousands of years because of capitulation. You got to stand for something that's so much greater than you. Ibrahim alayhi salam does that at a young age. In the middle of his flight into this pit, the greatest angel Allah ever created came to him. The angel with 600 wings, the angel that blocks the horizon, the angel with one feather of one wing was able to flip a pancake of an entire town, of an entire city. Jibreel alayhi salam comes to a young man in the middle of a flight into a canyon of fire and says, hey kid, Assalamu alaikum. I'm here to help you. God sent me to help you. I can swoop you and send you to the seventh heaven. I can send you anywhere at this moment, at this second. Alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam. The angel, by the way, linking it to Ramadan, the angel that only comes to earth, after this angel only came to earth for two reasons. The first reason Allah created him, of course, he's the head angel, but he only came to earth to do what? First purpose of Jibreel alayhi salam, to speak to prophets. The only reason that Jibreel would come down to earth was to speak to a prophet and give him revelation, to speak to him and give him wahi, to give him guidance, right? Only Jibreel spoke to prophets, other angels of course, but he's the ambassador of Allah to the prophets. And the second reason Jibreel comes down, he doesn't come down back to earth, as far as we know, except in, second time, تتنزل الملائكة والروح فيه. He comes down in one of these special nights, because it's the night Allah told him to bring down the Quran. So he comes back down to greet the people of the Quran, to greet the people that still remember Ibrahim alayhi salam's story and recite it back and learn its lessons. Alayhi salam. May Allah Azza wa Jalla allow us to meet Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel comes to a young man in mid-flight and he says, God sent me to help you, kid. I'm here. Let me help you out. And of course, it's really tough. I can't imagine being Mahmoud Khalil. Like, I can't imagine being an innocent young man who just protests the slaughter and the extermination of your people, and the president of the superpower of the world is tweeting about me. And all of his minions in the halls of power are tweeting about me to come after me. I'm just a father trying to see my baby that's going to be born in a few weeks. I've done nothing other than being a phenomenal student, an amazing ambassador for my people. I've done nothing other than speak a word of truth in front of the most vicious oppressors on the earth. May Allah curse them and destroy them from the top to the bottom. It's hard to be alone. Like everybody's against you. It's a wave. It's a tsunami. You have no help. It's impossible. Ibrahim alayhi salam was the only believer on earth at his time. There was no other believer. He's the only Muslim on earth at his time, at a young age. Mid-flight, Jibreel comes to him and he says, with nothing around him, helpless, he says, I'm here to help you. Any one of us would take it in a split second. Would we even think about getting the help? Would we even think about, being in a difficult situation and not asking for the help? Of course. We get a flat tire and start crying to 15 people, texting them crying emojis. Right? We have a bad day at work and we're calling out for the week because I can't deal with the mental stress and the anxiety and the challenges of life. We barely sleep in Ramadan and everybody's showing up late to work, I can imagine, right? Everybody's showing up hours late to work because how can I survive without my 8 hours of sleep? Like, for us, when we live in privilege, little hardship becomes overwhelming. It's very challenging. We're all going to leave here tonight in our nice cars, drive to our nice homes, eat our nice suhoors, and sleep in our nice beds. It's most difficult when everything is easy. Especially when you're learning about stories of people that have such challenging circumstances. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, at a young age, so noble, so amazing, such a phenomenal legend. He tells Jibreel alayhi salam, I don't need your help. I'm tied up, I'm mid-flight, I see the fire, I see the canyon, I see the pit. I don't need your help. And he says the phrase, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. He says it to the king of the angels, who could flip and destroy a people with one move. He tells him, I don't need your help. It's enough. Hasbi Allah means Allah is enough. Like there's nothing we don't need anything more than Allah. There's nothing we would need. There's nothing, the clothes on my back, my phone, my mind, my heart. There's nothing that I own that I need more than Allah. Everything exists because of Him. He is at every single moment controlling every atom of my existence. Before I was created, when I'm created, after I'm created. Allah's enough. Like Allah's enough. It's enough that Allah knows. It's enough that Allah sees. It's enough that Allah, I ask Him for help. He is Hasbi Allah. Allah's enough. Hasb also means I only need Allah. I don't need anybody else. I don't even need you. Ibrahim a.s. is telling the angel, I doesn't even need him. Alayhi salam. Hasbi Allah. Wa ni'mal wakil. It's not just Allah's enough. Of course He's enough. But there's nothing more important to ask for help than Allah. There is no entity, no thing, no existence that is more worthy of us asking for help than Allah. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. It's been the anthem of the people of Gaza. The words first uttered off of our father Ibrahim a.s.'s mouth. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. When he said that, Allah gave him miracles. Allah gives every prophet miracles. Ibrahim didn't know he was a prophet at this moment, but now he's going to figure out, this is a special human, a very special human. And Allah Azza wa Jal takes the pit of fire and turns it into, what does He turn it into? The fire stayed. But Ibrahim a.s. landed in it as if it was the biggest pool at Kalahari. That you jumped, you dove off of the cliff, whatever thing, diving board, and jumped into this cool, calm, chill pool in the middle of the Caribbean. It was, subhanAllah, some of the scholars say, the fire of Ibrahim alayhi salam was the most tranquil place ever on earth. Like I know you could go to like a nice, beach front or like Caribbean island and say, my God, this is so tranquil. The scholars say the most tranquil place to ever exist on earth was the fire Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown into. It was just tranquil, calm, cool. Allah made it that way. He said, Bardan wa salaman. It was cool and peaceful for Ibrahim alayhi salam when he landed in it, alayhi salam. The beautiful story, the beautiful lesson from this story is his willingness to understand, and again, just like we're learning from the protectors of Al-Aqsa today, the willingness to understand Allah is the one that controls it. I truly believe, of course, I think it's, the images and, understanding like the trauma of what's happening. I think it's much more difficult for the living than the dead, right? The Prophet ﷺ guaranteed us that the person who dies at shaheed, from the very instant that they feel pain, that their soul is taken, they are in paradise. The Prophet ﷺ said the shaheed, as soon as he dies, or she dies, as soon as their soul is taken, they are VIP'd to the levels of Jannah. They are birds that float around the gardens of Jannah. They have no limitation on where they go. They have no full expanse of the gardens of paradise. In the barzakh, not even getting to the day of judgment. In the barzakh, the time between death and the day of judgment, they have absolute full tranquility and full capacity to go anywhere in Jannah. Allah Azza wa Jalla has blessed them that they have coolness and peace from the second that their soul is taken. They are where we want to be. I think, for me, I think all of us, it gets very difficult day in and day out to understand the evil of what's happening. And may Allah forgive us for our weakness and our shortcomings and our ineptitude. But I think it's really important as a believer to understand that they go where every believer dreams of going, from the youngest to the oldest of them. It's like that's where we would dream of going. For the living, the fact that they have such yaqeen, such certainty, that hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil, those words of Ibrahim alayhi salam is so powerful. It's such an amazing legacy that we can live as well, inshaAllah. Bringing us back through the father of two nations. Ibrahim alayhi salam goes on, and of course he has, as we all know, he alayhi salam, different opinions, but he is instrumental to the building of the two great masjids. He, at the young age, he is one of the few prophets that was able to go to, of course, what did Ibrahim alayhi salam do? A long story, but amongst what he did was that he resided in Al-Quds. And there's a narration, again, some difference of opinion on this. Again, the history books are not so clear. Who built Masjid al-Aqsa? The Prophet was asked, what was the first masjid to ever exist? He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Masjid al-Haram. That means Adam alayhi salam built the foundations of the Mecca, the Kaaba. And then he was asked, what was the second masjid? He said, Masjid al-Aqsa. And its foundation, some scholars believe, was built either by Adam alayhi salam or his sons. The foundation of Masjid al-Aqsa. Ibrahim alayhi salam is the first prophet after Adam to go and bless these two holy sites. He's the father of two nations because he built the leadership of Mecca, alayhi salam. His prodigy would be the leadership of Mecca, and his prodigy would be the leadership of Al-Quds, Al-Aqsa, Jerusalem, alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, once he go to the story of again attaching our hearts to the masjid. When Ibrahim alayhi salam built Masjid al-Haram, Mecca, when he went there, there was nobody there. By the way, Jerusalem was popping at the time, right? Jerusalem has always been the center of the world. They call it the Middle East. It's always been the middle point of the world. It's always been the center strategic area. Why did every single prophet encounter or deal with somewhere in that region? Because all of the world's people would have to descend to the center point of the earth. And if you were going to send, before 5G and Starlink, if you were going to send a message to the world, you had to go to the center point of the world, send it there, so that its message could actually reach the ends of the globe. No other way to do it back then. So every prophet dealt with Al-Aqsa, Palestine, Sham, the central points of the world, the Middle East. But nobody ever went to Mecca. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he was honored, Allah Azza when Allah Azza told Ibrahim, "Inni ja'aluka lin-nasi imama," I'm going to make you the leader of the humanity. His leadership would have two strands. The first strand is the strand in Mecca. When he went there, there was nothing there, a barren land. And he, alayhi salam, built the house with Ismail. And the second strand of leadership would come from Ishaq. Of course, Ibrahim married Hajar and had Ismail, and he married Sarah, and he couldn't have a son for a long time with Sarah until finally Allah blessed him with Ishaq. And Ishaq became the leader of course, Al-Quds, Al-Aqsa. These two masajid should be the most beloved masajid to our hearts with the Masjid al-Nabawi. Their legacies and their lessons are what I want to extract a few things for us to take, inshallah ta'ala, particularly Masjid al-Aqsa. The Prophet ﷺ said, first the Prophet ﷺ would say, the Prophet ﷺ said, Masjid al-Aqsa, for every single prophet, was the Qibla. Whenever a prophet prayed, they prayed towards Masjid al-Aqsa. How many years did the Prophet ﷺ pray towards Masjid al-Aqsa? Did we used to face Masjid al-Aqsa as Muslims? Yes, we did. How many years? Who knows? How many years did we face Masjid al-Aqsa as the Qibla? It's a challenging question. Oh, good. Who said that? Very good. Very, mashallah. Takbir. 13 years in Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ and the companions, from when they were instituted, when Salah first got instituted, the companions would face Masjid al-Aqsa. They would do something special though. What was the special thing the Prophet ﷺ used to do when he would pray to Masjid al-Aqsa? Very good. So he would always be essentially on the south side of the Kaaba, with the Kaaba being north, because Masjid al-Aqsa was north. So he would always face Al-Aqsa, he would always face Al-Aqsa, but be directly facing Al-Kaaba. And the companions had a similar kind of habit and practice. 16 or 17 months when they left Mecca, about a year and a half after they left Mecca, they went to Medina. The Muslims, all of a sudden, for about 16 months, where are they facing? They're facing Masjid al-Aqsa. And what was behind them, because now it's north, and where's Mecca? Mecca, south of Medina. Al-Kaaba is behind them. The Prophet ﷺ, narration, the scholars tell us, the Prophet ﷺ for 16 months was begging, praying to Allah that he would change the Qibla. He would turn and have the Qibla towards Mecca for 16 months. Even the Prophet ﷺ, when he wanted something, a lesson on dua. Even when the Prophet ﷺ wanted something, Allah sometimes wanted him to be persistent in his asking. He didn't just get it. Allah Azza wa Jalla reveals some beautiful verses on it. And then he says, about a year and a half into Medina, he tells the Muslim community to start facing in Mecca. Who got super angry? The Jewish tribes of Medina. They got really angry. What kind of prophet? All the prophets honored Al-Aqsa. Which prophet is this that's facing the wrong way? So Allah Azza wa Jalla makes, and Surah Al-Baqarah beautifully does this. Allah Azza wa Jalla decides to make a distinct break between the prodigy of Ishaq and their chances and their ability to be the custodians of the covenant, and he breaks that with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he is the only prophet from the lineage of Ismail. And he, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was told to face Mecca, it was kind of the final giving of the covenant that the ultimate custodianship of guidance and truth until the end of time would be for the descendants of Ismail and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was a breaking of the covenant. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though he turned away from it, a few things that he mentioned about Al-Aqsa that I think are really important. Number one, he said sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Masjid al-Aqsa, he was asked sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, if we can travel to Masjid al-Aqsa, should we travel? He said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, travel to Masjid al-Aqsa and pray there, even though he physically couldn't pray there. We'll talk about it in a second. Go and travel because its salah is worth 1,000 of your normal salahs. If you, of course, we all know the theme of masjid. When you pray in the masjid, your salah is worth 27 times than it is at home, or more, 27 times. When you go to Mecca, it's worth, each rak'ah, each salah is worth 100,000. When you go to Medina, it's worth 10,000. When you go to Al-Aqsa, it's worth 1,000. Each salah is worth 1,000 salah. If there's a heart, is there a masjid to love? These are the masajid. The Prophet ﷺ told the people, go to Masjid al-Aqsa. They said, Ya Rasulullah, what if we cannot go to Masjid al-Aqsa? Like, what if we physically can't go there? He said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then support and help Masjid al-Aqsa, even if all you can send is oil to keep its candles on lit. I'll repeat. He said, even if you can't go to Masjid al-Aqsa, send whatever you can to support it, even if it's oil that keeps the candles on for the worshipers and the believers there. It's a very simple ask of us that we can do today. It's a mandate on us out of love for Masjid al-Aqsa. We're not asked to sacrifice our lives in our homes, in our food, in our water. It's not the test we're being given. But this hadith of the Prophet, this saying of the Prophet ﷺ, send whatever we can, even if it's just oil, to keep candles lit for people there, that we support it, and that love and that attachment. He said also, Sulaiman alayhi salam made a beautiful dua about Masjid al-Aqsa that I think we should know and love. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Man ata hadha al-bayt, whoever goes and prays in Masjid al-Aqsa, la yurid illa as-salata fi. He's not going for anything other than praying in it. May Allah allow us to pray in it. He says, he will turn back kayawmi waladathu ummuh. He will be forgiven of all of his sins, and he will be as if he was born the first day that he was born. May Allah allow us to pray for no other reason other than going to pray there in Masjid al-Aqsa. The famous story, why we love Masjid al-Aqsa more than any other masjid, as much as any, the three masajid, more than any other masjid. The Prophet ﷺ, the most phenomenal event in human history happened in Masjid al-Aqsa. I talked about the covenant being taken from the descendants of Yaqub. Israel's covenant was taken away. No matter how much they're going to fight and whine and cry and send their Zionist bots to try to get it, keep it. The covenant has been taken away by Allah Azza wa Jal. What the Prophet ﷺ, the greatest event to ever exist on earth though, was when Allah Azza wa Jal decided to send the Prophet ﷺ in the year of sadness to Masjid al-Aqsa. What did the Prophet ﷺ do at Masjid al-Aqsa when he got there? MashaAllah, people know the story very right. He led the prayer with the greatest human beings to ever exist. The changing of the guard and the ownership of Al-Aqsa changed when the Prophet ﷺ, Allah could have sent him anywhere. He said, Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa. When Allah sent the Prophet ﷺ from Masjid al-Haram ila al-Masjid al-Aqsa, because of its blessed nature, when the Prophet ﷺ got there, in a way that, of course, again, outside of like the conversation about how this happened, the metaphysical, physical world, all the opinions on it, but the Prophet ﷺ, Allah Azza wa Jal brought to life all of the prophets that ever existed. Every single prophet. And he lined them up in rows. And he had Muhammad ﷺ lead them in salah. In the greatest congregation in the history of humanity. Where was the special place that took place? Masjid al-Aqsa. It was a symbol and a sign to the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ that this is if the greatest salah ever happened was there, what's the message to the Ummah? What's the message to the lineage of Muhammad ﷺ? We are its caretakers. We are its guardians. We are the ones that lead and have been given the custodianship of Masjid al-Aqsa. It is our responsibility. It's our mantle given to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ also said, again, the love for Masjid al-Aqsa and why it deserves its sacrifice, the sacrifices of our people, and why it deserves the love in our hearts. The final one of them is the Prophet ﷺ said, it will be the place that Allah Azza wa Jal will resurrect and gather the people. So of course Allah could have chose any place for it to be the moment humanity meets Allah. Allah could have chose any place. But Allah decides that is the place when the end of time comes, that the people will come out of their graves and they will gather and be resurrected to meet Allah in and around this land, Masjid al-Aqsa, this place. This will be the place of gathering. This will be the place where people meet Allah Azza wa Jal. So there's a nobility and an honor for this place, a love that we should have for this place, a fear that we should have for this place. And again, a calling that all of our hearts should have in whatever way, right? Whether we purposefully do it now, or whether on the Day of Judgment when Allah brings us out of our graves, our hearts are connected to this special place, this sanctified place. The last thing, inshallah, I'll talk about before I speak about some other general lessons about the masjid. How did Masjid al-Aqsa, I think this is a very important lesson. There was a very important story of how Masjid al-Aqsa came under the rulership of the lineage of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Very important story. Who was the first actual custodian from the believers of Masjid al-Aqsa? Umar ibn Khattab radhiyallahu anhu. Very good. The story is really important, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time to extract some lessons for the story. I think we could take a lot out of it. I hope I covered the importance of Ibrahim alayhi salam, our father, and how he links back to the people of Gaza today, the current custodians of Al-Aqsa. How we should love and be infatuated with Al-Aqsa and want to go to Al-Aqsa, and our heart should be attached to Al-Aqsa. But the last one is, how do we free Al-Aqsa? What are the lessons of freedom? How do we make sure that there's justice and nobility and dignity and honor for the ummah and the world as the descendants of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as being the custodians of this place? How does that happen? I think the story of Umar is a powerful lesson of how that happens. Umar ibn Khattab, just very quickly, after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who became the Khalifa and led the Muslim civilization? Abu Bakr. How many years did Abu Bakr rule? 2 years, approximately 2 years. The Prophet said, when Abu Bakr passed away and he dealt for 2 years, most of Abu Bakr's reign, his leadership, focused on civil war. Because as soon as the Prophet ﷺ died, almost all of the Arabs, all the believers left Islam. Nearly all of them. Some of them blatantly and outright left the deen, and some of them just refused to do what? Man, we pay 35% tax in New York. No one should ever complain about 2.5% zakat tax. But the Arabs did. They're like, hey, we're not paying 2.5% to Abu Bakr. We gave a covenant to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We're not following Abu Bakr. So 2.5% on not all of their earnings, right? Only zakah eligible earnings. For those that haven't done their zakah yet, great time to do your zakah and give out your zakah in the last 10 nights. And know that you're eligible in zakah. And understand the obligation of zakah. Salah and zakah were the first obligations to the believers. Zakah was, they's like, hey, we're not paying zakah. We're not giving zakah money to Abu Bakr, a lot of them. So Abu Bakr spent almost an entire year just bringing people under the fold of Islam. Almost an entire year. Bringing back Ta'if. It was just Ta'if, Mecca, and Medina. All the other Arabs left. So he brought everybody under Islam, and all of a sudden, within his second year, the Muslim civilization was expanding into India and into Rome. Of course, we would need to kick out the Romans to get Al-Aqsa. Back then and today, may Allah Azza wa Jal rid us of the Roman Empire in our lands. They had to get rid of the Roman Empire to be able to take custodianship of the Al-Aqsa. Abu Bakr started, and subhanAllah, I mean, you're talking about Arabs that used to be shepherds of sheep and camel. All of a sudden, they're battalions and commanders of legions that are taking on 2 superpowers in the world. They were able to push well into the areas of Fursan, Iran, Iraq, so on. But against the Romans, it was very difficult. It was very hard. There were a lot of difficult battles. Eventually, the Muslims are able to open, because of some great names that we should know, like Amr bin As, and like Khalid bin Walid, and like Zubayr bin Awam, and many amazing Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah. There's so many legends. Man, I know we can recite like Bronny James's points per game the past week and a half. And, analyze, I'm talking to the guys, just give me a second. Analyze, who's going to be the first pick of your fantasy football draft from now. And it's kind of sick that we don't understand. And I just gave a lesson about one of them yesterday. So a little bias in it, but man, it's sick that we don't understand our legends. Like the phenomenal people that we exist today because of them. Go back to the great names. When the Muslims were moving west, it was much more difficult. And what happened eventually is that because of some amazing bravery, they were able to eventually take different parts. And Yarmouk was the big battle in Jordan, the area of Jordan, a huge battle, and that opened all of Sham, the areas of Palestine, Syria, the Levant. When the Muslims got there, there was a very important event that was going to happen. They were able to take Al-Quds. Al-Quds, for the first time, the Muslims are able to really peacefully take over Al-Quds. So there is in the middle of these expansions, Abu Bakr dies. May Allah bless him, the heavyweight of our ummah. And Umar ibn Khattab comes in his place. And Umar was a different kind of leader than Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was very much a delegate, empower, and give people. Umar was much more of a command and control center of movement and leadership and management. When Abu Bakr alayhi salam comes to power, he is not micromanaging, but he closely manages all the affairs. When the Muslims were able to take Al-Quds, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, who is the leader of the Muslim army, he says, this is yawmun min ayyamillah. This is one of the most historic days of all of the days of Allah. This is a phenomenal moment for the Muslim ummah, that we've taken the custodianship of the physical land of Al-Aqsa for the first time. So Abu Ubaidah says, okay, send to Umar ibn Khattab that he needs to come and take the keys from the leaders of Al-Quds. Tell him to come. Tell the president to come and receive the keys of the city. Umar radiallahu anhu was not a person that ever left Medina. His command and control center was Medina. He wouldn't leave for anything. He wouldn't really leave for any other cause. The only reason in his khilafah that he left, one of the few times that he left, was when he was called to take the keys of Al-Quds, Jerusalem. When he comes, you would think at that time, the Muslim armies are in Egypt. They're almost in India. They're far into, they're all over the world. They're spreading. The civilization is growing. You would think at the heart of them is a leader that is, what quality of leader would you imagine? So when Umar comes, he doesn't come in an entourage. He doesn't have an Air Force One. He comes on a donkey with him and his slave. The path of, you're talking about weeks traveling in the desert. When Umar radiallahu anhu gets on the donkey, he alternates with his servant the riding on the donkey, because they had to walk the whole way there. So the president, with no army, no entourage, no guard, no caravan, no fleet, it's just him and his servant walking through the deserts from Medina all the way to Al-Quds. When he gets to Al-Quds, important story if we don't know, hopefully if you've heard the story, it's good to kind of remember it again. When he gets to Al-Quds, of course, the first thing that happens is he meets the believers. And the believers, when they welcome Umar, first of all, they had such awe for Umar overall, but he was now the leader of the ummah. When they met him, the first thing that Abu Ubaidah tells him is, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you're not dressed for the occasion. You're not dressed for the moment. So Umar radiallahu anhu, in an Umar fashion, kind of chest presses him pretty hard. I can imagine if Umar were to just punch somebody in the chest. And he tells him a very, very powerful word. It's the reminder to Abu Ubaidah, who's one of the greatest companions too. He tells him, Nahnu qawmun, we were a people. This is the word. This is one of the important lessons. We were a people that we were adillah, like we were nothing. We were the desert Bedouins that nobody cared about. No superpower ever cared about Arabia. never cared about conquering it, sending armies there. Like, why would you do that? There's nothing there. There's no oil, there's nothing there. The Romans, the Persians never cared about Arabia. They were just nomads. All they knew was sheep and camel shepherds. That's all they were. And he tells them, we were a people that were so debased. We were the lowest of the low. We were nothing. We were the lowest rank of human society. فَأَعَزَّنَا اللَّهُ بِالْإِسْلَامِ. So Allah changed and made us perform miracles in front of the world because of Islam. Allah gave us a prophet. He gave us a book. And it transformed these shepherds of sheep and camel to be the leaders of nations and civilizations that would last for centuries. So he said, نحن قوم, we were أذلة, فأعزنا الله الإسلام. وإن ابتغينا العزة بغيرها أذلنا الله. We were, Allah gave us Islam and brought us honor because of Islam. And if we were, I think it's a lesson for us, all of us in here, if we were to try to attain izzah, honor, dignity, prestige, nobility, attention, fame, notoriety, if we were to try to achieve it because of anything other than Islam, what does the words of the greatest, one of the greatest Muslim leaders say to us? We will go back to humiliation. وَإِنْ ابْتَغَيْنَا الْعِزَّةَ بِغَيْرِهَا أَذَلَّنَا اللَّهُ. If we were to try to achieve dignity and honor through anything other than it, what would Allah do to us? We'll go back to being debased and dishonored. There's nothing, as an ummah, so this is Umar al-Khattab's lesson to us. How do you free Al-Aqsa? The izzah of Islam. The izzah of Islam. The nobility and honor of Islam. Each of us being a better Muslim is the key that Umar ibn Khattab tells us is Islam. To seek no other honor. Look, I don't care where you graduate from. I don't care what kind of job you got. I don't care how big your rims are. I don't care how rich your husband is. I don't care how big your house is. I don't care about your tires, your curtains, your cars, your lawns, how much business is, where your crypto is, where your Bitcoin is, what does it matter? You have no other honor other than Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. You have no other honor than A'azzanallah bil Islam. There's no other honor. No matter what you try to go and get more Muslims. Do we have all the riches of the world today? Yeah, we do. Our nations are some of the most wealthy nations on earth. They create, Muslim nations today, create toilets out of gold. Muslims today fly and have the greatest lavishes and lifestyles on earth. Muslim nations today own some of the most critical natural resources that the world cannot operate without. From the metals in our lands, to the oils in our lands, to the people, the knowledge, the wisdom that our lands have. People can't operate. People can't operate without our agriculture, without all our natural resources. People cannot operate. The world operates because of little canals that pass through our lands that we own. Little canal in Egypt, a little canal in the Mediterranean, these little canals in the Arabian Sea. These little canals, they're willing to destroy countries to own these little canals. Where do they reside? In Muslim lands. The Muslims have all of the materialistic and physical things to be powerful and have honor. But do we? We can't even stop a baby in a rainbow baby clothing. Can't even stop the death of a newborn baby in rainbow clothing from being a picture to the entire world of the viciousness of our enemy. Can't even stop the death of a little baby. If you've got a young baby, you get it dressed. Can you imagine someone coming and destroying and shredding that baby? Like, how weak are you as a parent to be able to let that happen? How weak are you as an ummah to be able to let that happen? It's absolute, it's not to, add harshness on us, but it's the words of Umar. أذلنا Allah. Allah would humiliate us. If there's anything other than Islam that we try to seek honor from, Allah would humiliate us. Umar radiallahu anhu walks into the town of Al-Quds the next day. They said, the story says that he, alayhi salam, look, he had nothing but Islam. Did he have the Egyptian silk on? Did he have the nicest automated cars? He had nothing. He walked into Al-Quds the next day with 2 pieces of garments stitched together, 17 patches all over his clothes. He walked in and he was noble. From the Muslim camp to Al-Quds, he told his servant that they would still alternate. When he got to the gates of Al-Quds, it was his turn to hold the donkey, and his servant was on it, and he was walking through the mud, walking the donkey, his servant into Al-Quds. He walked through the gates of Al-Quds, pushing his servant on a donkey, walking with patched clothes and muddy feet. And he walked in because Islam was the izzah, nothing else. It wasn't the clothes, it wasn't the entourage, it wasn't the wealth, it wasn't the fame, it wasn't the armies, it wasn't the military, it wasn't the weaponry, it wasn't the technology, it was just Islam. That's all he had, radiallahu anhu. The epitome of Islam. He walked into the gates of Al-Quds and took the keys of Al-Quds, and the first place he goes is, what's the purpose of the city? Outside of a heart that loves the masjid in it, the place of worship in it. It's the believer's heart. When the Prophet ﷺ first got to Medina, you know where his heart went? He went and built a masjid. When Umar got to Al-Quds, where's the first place he went? To go build Al-Aqsa, rebuild Al-Aqsa. It's the first place he went. The GPS of the believer, the heart, the GPS within your heart as a believer takes you to, where's the closest masjid? Let me find, where is the place that I can stand in front of Allah and talk to Him? Umar radiallahu anhu and a group of companions go to Al-Aqsa. It was nothing. It was just a wasteland. It was garbage and filth. And he radiallahu anhu and a group of companions, these elite generals, are moving the filth and the garbage from the area of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. And they perform, the first thing Umar does is perform Salah in Masjid Al-Aqsa, the area of Masjid Al-Aqsa. It's the lesson that we get on, if we were to attach our hearts to any masjid, all the masajid are important. But some masajid deserve more love in our hearts. And I hope, inshallah ta'ala, and pray that we've learned through this the lessons of Umar radiallahu anhu and the lessons of Ibrahim alayhi salam and the lessons of our forefathers and generations before them about the love, not just of all the masajid, of course, but particularly Masjid Al-Aqsa. This beautiful place that Allah Azza wa Jalla has deemed the sanctuary for all of humanity. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make us be of those that free Masjid Al-Aqsa from its oppressors. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make us of those that are instrumental in the freedom and justice that is brought to the lands of Al-Aqsa. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make us of those that rid Masjid Al-Aqsa of its oppressors. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept from the custodians and the guardians of Masjid Al-Aqsa today. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept their martyrs. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept their resilience and their sacrifice. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept their resistance to oppression. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept all of the good that they've put in. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to bring them aid from above 7 heavens. Allah, you are enough, and you are enough of this helper and provider of affairs. Oh Allah, be the provider for them. Oh Allah, be the one that brings aid to them. Oh Allah, you are Munazzil al-Kitab. You are the one that brought down the book. Sari' al-Hisab. You are the one that is quick to judge. Ihzim al-Ahzab. Destroy their oppressors. We ask Allah to destroy their oppressors and allow us to be of those that help and aid them, inshallah ta'ala.